celebrating and showcasing extraordinary people who are doing incredible things to make our world a better place. This is Close Up Television. I'm your host, Jim Masters, and thanks for joining us. On today's episode, we celebrate Angie Pedigo. Angie's a certified life, recovery, grief, and joy restoration coach. She and her partners began their journey in coaching after volunteering at a recovery home several years ago. Seeing a great need for further assistance for the participants and their families, they came together to form a faith-based organization called WayMakers Center, which is located in Lafayette, Tennessee. That's where Angie puts her coaching skills to work. WayMakers Center can be described as people in places doing things, which is their motto. The goal is to meet people where they are in life and to help move them forward, whether it be a need for a recovery, personal growth, or homelessness. Angie believes in teamwork, accountability, and the power of God for healing. Angie's biggest accomplishment to date is being able to witness lives transform from a state of hopelessness to a state of thriving, a state of despair to a state of joy and fulfillment. To learn more about Angie Pedigo's incredible and vital work and about WayMakers Center, Angie joins me today in the Close Up Television studio for this exclusive interview. Angie, it's so great to have you here. Thanks for driving all the way from Nashville, Tennessee to join us here on the East Coast at our television studio. How was the drive?
It was fantastic.
A
lot of beautiful scenery, yes.
How many states did you end up going through?
I think we went through 6 states total.
Nice. So you'll be around for a while and enjoy the scenery and then head back?
We hope to for a little bit and then head back. So
You like to do a lot of traveling?
we do. We do. We like to travel by car so we can take in the atmosphere.
I'm the same way. You know, I'm really fascinated by your work. We did the radio shows together, which is fantastic.
Yes.
And that's why I said, you know, it's important to have you come here because I'd love to delve in a little bit deeper into your extraordinary work and your background. You guys put this together, WayMakers Center, through getting together and really finding need that was out there for families and individuals, right? Tell us about how all of this came together.
So my partners and I actually met. There's 4 of us, and the 3 of them knew one another, but I just met them at that point. We were volunteering at a recovery home and saw a need that was greater than just that individual's need of trying to, live a sober life. And it encompassed the family, it encompassed aftercare for, them when they graduate recovery homes, and just saw this need growing and no resources. So what WayMakers is kind of a facility that just does life with people. We are kind of a haven for them when there's nowhere to go, or we tell them, in recovery you have to change people, places, and things. And that's easy to tell somebody to do, but if they don't have people, places, and things to substitute, then where are they supposed to go? So WayMakers came together to offer an array of services for total support of the families, support of the individuals, support of the community. It's not just based for recovery. There's personal growth, joy restoration, grief coaching, many things that we do in an array of services for just total healing.
Now, you're a certified life, recovery, grief, and joy restoration coach. Tell us about that. And I love that you add in joy restoration coach, because a lot of times life comes at us, at a mile a minute, and sometimes the joy is dissipated. The joy just is reduced, and we forget to live our bliss. We forget to live the things that pleasure us and fulfill us and satisfy us. Tell us about this work that you do.
So for joy restoration, usually spins off of some kind of situational occurrence that it's hard to see when you're in that moment. And when we can drill those thoughts down and just kind of get back to where the source of where that joy robber basically is coming from, what's stealing that serenity, then we are able to see that and move forward. The idea of coaching is to move people forward,
Right.
but you got to see where you're at. So when people can identify that, then they feel empowered. When they feel empowered, they gain hope. The basis of any joy comes from a feeling of hope. So a person has to find their hope back before they can move forward and recapture that joy in life. Then it leads into setting goals and, striving for something that you had once lost your ability to maybe do that. So joy restoration is a great thing to just sit back and watch people embrace and see them when they come in the door, to see them when they get back to that point. It is one of the most rewarding things.
What initially inspired you even to go into this work? We all have our life's journey and things that we choose in life, or sometimes it ends up choosing us. And then we realize that this isn't just work that we want to do, it's work we're meant to do. It's in our DNA, it's our calling. When did you realize that as far as this work helping others heal and find solace and peace in their lives?
My whole life, have been the one, I guess, that people were coming to just ask, like even my friends. My mom, I didn't realize that, but my mom said to me when she found out I was coming up here, she said, I've watched your friends come to you throughout the years asking for questions or advice or whatever, and I knew there was something greater for you to do. And she's never said that to me before until now, but
Mom knows best.
Mom knows. So I had a 15-year banking career. And before that, I was, searching out what I wanted to be in life and knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. I loved finances, and just kind of miraculously, by the grace of God, fell into that position, became a commercial lender, and really loved what I did, thrived in that position, was there for 15 years. But God had other plans. And so when He kept putting it on my heart to volunteer at this home and started doing that, it kept growing from there. And my passion, it was kind of like my passion for banking and finance started pulling away, and it was pulling more toward, helping people get their lives back, just being able to see them do life and excel.
It's amazing how many people I've come across who have said that they've had these wonderful corporate careers, on track, good money, the whole bit, but something missing, something, that human connection. And if you are somebody who's built to inspire others and empower others, and you feed off the energy of others and like to give it back in a positive vibe way, eventually that rises to the surface, and then you make a decision. Was that hard to make the decision to leave the almost comfort of the banking world to branch out and do your own thing?
It was extremely hard. It was probably the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. We relied heavily on, just financially, we relied heavily on that position and the benefits. Like, I worked for one of the best community banks in the state of Tennessee that was rated one of the top 5. And my CEO at the time, who was a dear friend as well, he was like, "You're giving up a Supreme Court appointed seat. Why are you doing this?" Yeah. And all I could say was, he was like, "This is like a Supreme Court appointed seat. Why are you giving this up?" And I'm like, "I have to."
Plus unlimited coffee for free.
Right.
I mean, donuts.
They were so good to me, and they had invested, so much into my education, so much into everything I did. I loved them. I used to tell them all the time. The joke was, "You'll get me out of here 2 ways, with a pink slip or a stretcher, because you're stuck with me. I'm going to stay here." So in my decision to do so, and having to tell them that after they had spent, so much effort and time into helping me grow, all I could tell him was, I have to do this. I have to do this. And I know that I have to at least give this a shot for 1 year. And by the grace of God, they let me know that, if there's ever a time that I wanted to come back, I always could. And that gave me such relief to be able to do that. But yes, the whole exit from there into this is a huge story within itself. It's just been a great experience, a great moment. And, God really revealed Himself in all of that, guiding my steps every step of the way and making those hard things easy. So.
Yes, which is beautiful when that happens, right?
Very much so.
So you created first your own thing. You got the certifications to become, life recovery, grief, joy restoration coach. And what was that process like?
That was very interesting and eye-opening. Went through a course of clinicals and just learning so much more about neuroscience and the brain and how that activity works gives you a whole new perspective of what someone who's experienced trauma or addictions, things like that, actually deal with. And that's so empowering for families to understand as well. I love that piece of it that I can share with families now. Creates an understanding between them that they can understand, I guess, where one another comes from more,
Right.
so that they can open up the lines of communication. At the end of the day, people have to be able to find empathy for one another again. And empathy gets lost, I think, a lot in the world we live in today. You know, technology changes communication styles and things like that a lot. And we're all grateful for technology, right? Very, very grateful for it.
Right.
At the same time, we all lack or miss that connection. And so the connection is really important.
The human connection, you can never lose that. I hope we never lose that, because it's really, it's what makes everything tick, right? You have to have that human connection.
Exactly.
It just adds an extra dimension to life, or richness to life, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
So you understand the human condition, which is a beautiful thing. When you guys created WayMakers Center, what was the mission, the goal, the vision for the center?
So that's a unique thing. We all had confession hour one day, basically. We were all feeling a tug to do something individually and didn't realize that the other one was feeling the same thing as well,
wow.
in different areas of service. So when we kind of confessed, you know, hey, I feel like God's calling me to do something in this direction, we just said, let's stop. Let's all go draw out what we feel like the vision of WayMakers Center is supposed to look like, and then we'll come back together and find the commonalities. And when we did that, we met together, we all had the same vision. And it was branches of service, basically. So there was recovery, addiction recovery services. There was personal skills, you know, personal help and growth. There's the family aspect of those in recovery. There was children and parenting, that kind of relationship. And then there was job setting, entrepreneurship, those sort of things. So trying to help people find jobs that they can thrive in, but not just a job, a career. Because when someone's passionate about what they do and it highlights their skill set, they're more loyal, they're more dedicated. The longevity of the time that they will remain at that company is important. So it really is a community work. It's a community work where you can help someone that has maybe been down on their luck and be able to thrive in a life that is just more fulfilled for them and the community. Then they start paying that back. So it's kind of a pay it forward type thing.
So the center serves, who are the clients that end up coming to the center? Do they find you, you find them? How does that work? And what are some of the things that they're struggling with?
Okay, so our clients come a lot by word of mouth, social media, those sort of things. We get a lot of our recovery clients from jail. We go into the jails once a week and work with the ladies' pods and take the 12-step program in there to them. Then the homelessness, that comes from like the police departments and things like that in our community. When people will show up or they'll find people, then they'll call us. It could be in the middle of the night, you know, to be able to put someone up for a night or two in one of the local hotels, because we don't have a homeless shelter there yet. That is one of our goals, though, down the road, hopefully. But the homeless we come in contact with that way for food, emergency shelter needs. It's really, really good to be able to, I say good is not the ideal word, but it's amazing. It is amazing to watch someone be able to walk that path with them from when they had nothing and from a hotel or a street into their own apartment, their job, they're self-sustaining. It's a beautiful thing. And to have the resources to be able to help people do that, they appreciate it so much that they want to just hang on to it. We get the personal growth. People come in from, you know, maybe they're just down on their job, or they're not feeling that joy. And that joy can come from personal growth. It can also come from professional work. You know, people lose like the joy of their careers. Sometimes they go through burnout, you know, those sort of things. So trying to get them back into, why did you enjoy this in the first place? Like, what brought you to that? Let's not lose sight of that in the mundane work, you know, the areas that are just the more administrative things or whatever it looks like that weigh people down. So the families come, they usually reach out when they can't get their loved one to embrace recovery and they're really struggling there and they're like, I don't know what else to do. Families can actually be one of the biggest support systems, but they need to know how.
Right.
They know how to support them properly, and in order to do that, they need to understand it. So that's when most of the families usually reach out.
I would imagine there was probably an uptick in all of those areas, from grief to homelessness to drug, alcohol use, whatever the situation may be, with the pandemic.
Yes.
Did you find the phone ringing more and a lot more activity?
It was just a crisis, basically, in all areas of service. It's kind of funny when the timing that WayMakers started and then the pandemic hit. It really was a huge impact in all the areas of service that are provided there. People, were having to experience grief from passing of loved ones from COVID and just being cooped up. A lot of people could not attend their 12-step meetings and the recovery meetings. So in the recovery realm, they were struggling because of connection. Right. They rely on those meetings so much to stay in their recovery. That's their support system. So during that time, we did Zoom meetings where we would all come together and just have one big Zoom meeting, on our once a week. And we enjoyed it. It wasn't the same, it wasn't the same, but we were so grateful that we still had that.
But still, you were connected at least, right?
Yes, we could laugh together, we could cry together, we could share together. And so at the end of the day, that's what we all needed. So it was a great way to be able to keep that ball rolling without, going with no services.
What was the thing you saw people coming to you more for during the pandemic? The homeless problem is huge in America.
It is.
It's unbelievable.
During the pandemic, it seemed to be recovery. You're trying to maintain that recovery that they had worked hard for and having less access to avenues to stay in those recovery realms. The homelessness kind of picked up the year after, when people had started, losing their jobs and the sickness, shutting things down and that sort of thing. So that's when the homelessness picked up a little later.
There's been the Great Resignation, too. You talk about people and fulfillment with jobs and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Pandemic has also spurred on a little bit of people sort of reanalyzing what they want to do with their lives next chapter. Mm-hmm. And if the jobs that they've been doing have been fulfilling them and allowing them to inspire and to connect with others and bring them joy and fulfillment inside themselves. Did you notice that as well, an uptick of people coming to you who are just trying to figure out next chapter for them?
Absolutely. We have got to see several people that have changed careers, but now are becoming entrepreneurs themselves. Maybe it's a cleaning business, or maybe it's a podcast, or things that they have always felt the need to do or the desire to do, but just didn't have the courage to do it. Kind of gave them a starting point that they can say, well, I'm here at this point now, I've got to make a change of some kind, so why not? And when they've got someone to be able to walk them through that and help them get started on their feet has been a beautiful thing.
Tell us about the importance, and I know it's important to you, that it's a faith-based organization. How does that enhance what you offer?
I'm glad you asked that, because I could talk about that portion all day. We talk about a difference in living clean and living sober. And people can get clean and try to stay substance-free, but living sober is to be sober-minded. And the majority of us in recovery will tell you, or at least in our area, will tell you that we couldn't do it without God. And having that faith and being able to go to Him with our burdens and just to know that He's there and support and help through all of that keeps us all connected with a deeper bond and a deeper love. To be able to watch people come together and basically just worship together, but using our 12-step program to do so. It has been amazing. But we all thirst for it, in all honesty. We just absolutely thirst for it. And God has just changed so many lives, so many. But we can try to live clean, and we're fighting the fight ourselves. We're fighting that. We feel like we're alone in it, and we have a certain level of willpower. But when that runs out and we need help, like to get over that hump, we need God. We need God in those situations. So that truly is the message of WayMakers, it is just include God. It'll change your life.
That's so beautiful. Tell us about the 12-step program that you offer.
12 Steps for Recovery is based off of the original 12 Steps of the Alcoholics Anonymous program. We are actually currently in the process of writing, it's about 3/4 of the way finished, writing a 12 Steps program based on the armor of God. And we've used several different programs or material. There's several 12-step programs out there, different material that you can use, to facilitate a group. It doesn't really matter which one there is. We always use those faith-based programs, and the faith-based ones just incorporate God in that. And that's the way we grow. That's the way we thrive.
What's an addiction recovery coach? Tell us about that work.
Okay. Addiction recovery coaching is one-on-one work. A lot of times we use the 12-step program to do one-on-one work, 12 steps with the client. However, we add in a lot of tools. Sometimes people get hung up on shame and guilt. When we're in active addiction, we've all done things that we're not proud of. We've done things that still, even though we've worked through those, we've gotten past them, it could have been 20 years ago. But that shame and guilt still kind of lingers around. And there's a lot of negative self-talk that goes on in someone's mind. It doesn't have to be an addiction-based thing, but in someone's mind, we will abuse ourselves more than anybody else can generally abuse us a lot of times. So to be able to work through that and stop that negative self-talk and be able to see ourselves the way that God made us, the way that He created us, and that He doesn't see us that way, we don't have to see ourselves that way. So sometimes we have to incorporate tools of shame and guilt, of grief. Maybe the reason that they went to addiction in the first place was because of the passing of a loved one. It could be a job loss, could be anything, peer pressure. Sometimes it's from surgeries. So we have to work through all of those things to move forward. And the 12-step program is great at bringing all of those things out. That step 4, there's a step 4 that does a personal inventory. And that personal inventory goes back into your oldest wounds, like what's the thing that you can remember that hurt you from way back when, or resentments, fear, things that you hold on to, and are you able to work through those in that step to move past them? And that's where real growth comes from.
It's incredible, huh? How long does the process take if somebody is involved in the 12-step program? Is it 12 months, or how does that work for somebody watching right now?
A 12-step program can generally be worked within about 6 months, but it depends on that person's rate of growth. Sometimes people get hung up on a certain step, not because, not that it's their fault or anything like that. People sometimes take a little bit longer time to work through some things.
More focus on and time spent on that one step.
Yes.
Get over that hurdle.
Yes, and it's not the job of a recovery coach to just excel them through to a destination point, to an end. It's to just be on a journey, be on a journey with them.
However long it takes.
However long that takes. So on average, though, generally about 6 months. And I do want to say this. If somebody's out there and they're listening and, maybe addiction is not what their issue has been, over particular substances or anything like that, 12-step faith-based programs are an excellent tool for everyone. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. It doesn't matter if maybe it's joy, maybe it is grief, maybe it's trauma, and you've had a hard time dealing with trauma and you're getting counseling or you're getting therapy. Coaching works really well with therapy and counseling that's already being received. This 12-step program heals so many hurts, old resentments, wounds, because it's cleaning all of that out, basically, so that you can get back to you without that. And I recommend it for everyone that's listening, no matter where you're at in life. It's definitely not going to hurt you.
It sounds like it's great for empowerment and sort of rekindling the flame within, even if, like you say, you're not necessarily going through, an issue with alcohol or drugs or gambling or anything else, addictive-wise. Still, it sounds like it's something that's good just to reconnect with the inner you.
Yes, it will help with anger, helps with codependence. So if you find yourself dealing with a lot of toxic relationships, which, to be honest with you, probably that's one of the largest things that we work with is relationship coaching on codependence. Codependence is a lot of times what took people into addiction situations in the first place.
Right.
But to heal all of that, you allow yourself the ability to be able to stop accepting toxicity because you feel like you deserve it. It ends that. And it really will transform your life.
You know, addiction also takes a toll on families too, right? Tell us about that.
It does. Addiction is known as a family disease. It affects everyone in the home, in the household, whether it's a spouse or maybe a child, teen child, adult child living at home. Everyone in the home is affected. The communication breaks down. You feel like you don't know that person anymore. You don't know how to relate to that person anymore. New hurts are arising. All kinds of things come from that. It really does take communication. It takes understanding, because otherwise you will sit and just keep harboring that resentment and harboring that fear and that doubt that they're ever going to get better. You know, when are they going to change? When are they going to want that? Well, when you understand where they're at, in the neuroscience portion of this as well, and you understand how their brains are functioning, altered by that substance at that stage in their life, you learn how to communicate with them differently. And like I said, find that empathy. The family dynamic is a huge, essential portion that needs to change a lot of times. Sometimes it's a matter of enabling, but families don't realize that's what's happening.
Right.
Sometimes it is a matter of codependence. The thing that I find a lot of people struggle with is establishing boundaries, healthy boundaries. And I think people a lot of times have boundaries kind of skewed as to what does a boundary really look like. And a boundary is not meant to box someone else in and say, you can do this, you can't do that, because we're all adults here, right? You know, even someone in active addiction is still an adult. They need to be treated like an adult. A boundary is to say, this is what I will and will not accept in my space. But if you choose to do that, you can do what you want to do in your space, but the boundaries are to protect ourselves. And families have a hard time setting those and maintaining those for many reasons. Of course, you love that person and you want to help that person. So there's steps to setting boundaries and being able to hold them. You know, there's parts of boundaries that need to be maintained in order for them to be successful, or you're better off to not set them in the first place.
One of the hardest things is to create the boundaries, right? And
Yes.
to stick to them.
Yes.
A lot of times we sort of deviate or we lessen, the boundary. Okay, come on in. You got to keep, you got to be forthright with it, don't you?
Yeah, you do. In a way that builds positive growth for both,
Right.
not to tear down. Boundaries shouldn't be
Exactly.
set to tear down. They should be set to build up and to establish responsibility and to establish accountability. It's kind of a tough love thing, It's not to be mean. It's not to be controlling, but it's just for tough love.
That's a big thing too. You mentioned that important word, accountability, because sometimes, even I'm sure when people come to the WayMakers Center, that they want you sometimes to hold their hand always. But what you're doing is you're giving them the tools and resources that they need to once again believe in themselves. So when Angie and the other members of the team are not necessarily right there, and they're in a situation, they can call upon some of those things that Angie and the team sort of, shared with them. And it's about them taking responsibility for their lives, right? Versus you guys living the life for them. Sometimes that's what people hope when they want help is, okay, I'm not gonna have to do anything because they're gonna do it all for me, and that's it. But you're really showing them how they can rise to the occasion, and accountability is one of those key factors, right?
Very much so. It's also empowering to them when you give them a tool and you give them instructions, and this is how you can accomplish this, but it's up to you to do it. We have an option every day to give them a fish or teach them how to fish. And if we teach them how to fish, then they're going to be able to do that through their life. And the idea of working with families is also to get to a point where rather than giving them that fish, teach them how to fish so that they can do that. A lot of people who are down and they've lost their hope, no matter where they find themselves in life, feel like everybody else has lost hope in them too. And they feel like that they're incapable. They feel like they're incapable of growth and of moving forward in their life, that it's over for them. And one of the greatest things that you can do for someone in that situation is to say, hey, I have faith in you. I believe you can make this phone call. I believe that you can call and set this up. I believe that you have the ability to walk into this bank and open up your first checking account. I have the belief that you can go in there and get that interview. Let's prep you for that, so that you're ready to go get it. You go get it.
Right.
And when they do, that boost of momentum behind their healing and them wanting to gain their life back, it's beautiful. I can't stress that enough, how beautiful that is. And so to continue to empower them in ways, we're not going to do it for someone, but we're going to set them up so that all they have to do is embrace it. And if they embrace it, they can do it.
I can see the joy that just brings you in describing this. It really does, doesn't it?
It does. I could talk about it all day. There's so many stories, beautiful things that have happened. And to hear them say, I didn't think I could do this, or they'll say, I'm doing big girl things, or I'm doing big guy things, you know, it's beautiful. They didn't have the confidence, and now they do. So it's our job as a community, not just Waymakers, but as a community and as families of them, to be able to say, you know what, I think you can do that. And families can do that at home. I think you can do that. I have faith in you.
See, that's beautiful.
It is.
Without mentioning any names or anything, but do you have a general idea of like a success story or two you could share?
Absolutely, I do. I have permission to be able to share this story from one of our girls. She came to us January of 2021, and she had just used that morning. And she said, I'm done, and I don't know what to do. And it's the dead of winter, and sleeping in a car, has nowhere to go. She immediately jumped into recovery coaching. She kept to her one-on-one meetings. She did all of the things and used all of the tools. She started chasing God. That was the difference. She started chasing after God and chasing after her recovery. She was like, I believe I can do this. And she wanted it. She was thirsty for it. So from watching her go to that place in life to now, she has a home that she rents. She's engaged. She has her son back. She has a new child, a new baby that her fiance has, and they're raising him together. She has gone back to school. She's a straight A student. I say school, she's in for medical records, something to that effect. Yeah. And so her instructor has actually asked her to lead a group with the other students, because it's online courses, of how to study online and keep up your grades and stay on task, and that sort of thing. She is so empowered. She feels so good. She said, I started out with this because I wanted to see if I could do it. And now that I know that I can do it, now she wants to go on to maybe be a CNA, or, who knows, she could be an RN at that point. She stays very faithful to her recovery, to her meetings. She's a wonderful mother, just a wonderful, wonderful joy to be around. So her whole life has transformed, and there's many, many more like that, but she's just one example.
Just watching your facial expressions and listening to you, it's very empowering and inspiring, because I could see it's like it's flowing through you when these things happen in a positive way for the clients that you deal with, that it really brings you a deep joy and satisfaction. I'm sure the other members of the team as well. You really take this on yourselves, and you're really rooting for them as much as it is, all the clinical stuff and stuff you got to do, transactional, whatever. This is a really deep-rooted thing for you too, isn't it?
Very much so. I'm just a natural encourager and motivator. I played basketball in high school and worked with my cousin, who was 2 years younger than me, so much that I worked myself out of position and worked her into it. But I was so proud for her. Yeah. So I just love to motivate people. I can see them be the best that they can be.
Absolutely, and that's the key to it all. Tell us about the other members of the team.
Great. So we have Carolyn Smith. She is a certified Zig Ziglar legacy trainer. So she has all kinds of programs about building the best you, choosing to win in life. Right. She's really good entrepreneur. She tries to help people get those jobs. She does a lot of job placement. She walks through life with them once they've gotten through some recovery. They're doing life. They're out there working. They have their, their homes now, those sort of things. She's been car shopping with them so they don't get taken advantage of, but she makes them do it. They've got to show up and be present. So she's very active in their lives, just being that accountability, that guide, a good guide and a good mentor. We have Heather Kemp. She's a wonderful recovery coach. She loves to see people recover from their addictions. And we all have experienced, if we were all honest with ourselves, we all battle some type of addiction or other, maybe it's food, or maybe it's that chocolate cake, or it's whatever it might be.
I do love my mashed potatoes.
There you go, right? Mashed potatoes.
Comfort food, yes.
Exactly.
Bring on the comfort.
Exactly. So she's a wonderful recovery coach, just walks through them. She will get in the trenches with them. And, sometimes they've been in bad situations that they felt like they couldn't get out of. And I've seen Carolyn and Heather go in there and get them out,
Get them right.
Just to go get them.
Yeah.
We have Wanda Carr. She does parenting classes, and she works with life skills for teens, for high-risk teens. So that's very much needed because these problems tend to occur in that junior high, high school level.
Peer pressure, all of that,
Yes. And then we have Colby Lane. He is on our board of directors, but he's also a lifeline support for the state of Tennessee and the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. So he goes into the schools a lot and is really trying to implement trauma-informed schools. It's been a big program there, and that's who we are. We have Stephanie Metter. She's on our board too, but she's over the Prevention Coalition for the county. So she's really connecting lots of resources with lots of people. It is truly a network. It's a network of people trying to all work for the same common goal, and that's to restore lives.
What is the age range? Is it everybody? Is it across the board, or is it just younger or older, or how does it work that way?
Everyone that we work with is 18 and older, except, Wanda, she can work with the teens. She's certified to do the teens, life skills for teens there. So generally, if they're teenagers or older.
What are some of the things, there's places to go that are out there, but what do you think are a few things that make WayMakers unique, special, different maybe from other options?
WayMakers is unique, and not to just for me to describe it, but I can explain how other people have described it. It's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
It's a place that you can come to for one source to be able to seek help from all of these different areas of life. Now, we don't do counseling and we don't do therapy, but we have a wonderful network of, we call them our power team. And so our power team are the people that we refer out to for those needs. If it seems like someone is stuck in an old trauma, an old wound, and they can't move forward at that point, then it's time to refer them out. And so we have a support system there for them, not on site, but that we can refer out to for those. We refer out a lot of people, especially the ones that are incarcerated, to help get their applications going while in jail, to be able to go to recovery home as soon as they're released, so that the time lapse between release and being able to be accepted, or there's a bed available for them, is minimal. So there's a lot of that work that goes on as well.
There's something called Broken Princess. What is that?
Broken Princess is a beautiful transformation of someone's life. It takes trauma that a person has experienced and views your life like a castle. So you draw all of these different aspects of the castle, and you explore the castle, from the secret passageways to the dungeon, to the drawbridge, to the throne room and the princess tower, those sort of things. Each person has these hidden little things kind of in their hearts or in their minds and their lives. And when they can't see them because they've kind of been there so long that they're like tucked away in the secret passageways of this castle.
Right.
So to be able to get those things out, they have what we call those aha moments where they're like, oh, that's why I do that.
Right.
It's totally amazing to watch what their castle looks like from the beginning and what their castle looks like in the end. There's a trauma tree that gets drawn toward the beginning of the roots of your trauma and how that's manifested and what is that breeding in the branches of your life. Then we have them draw a tree. We call it the peace tree. In the end, the roots are the same. You can't change what's happened to you in your life. You can't change what that did to you in your life. But when you change the watering can, when you change what's in the water that you're watering the roots with, the tree produces different fruit. And so whatever we were watering those roots with, the blame, the guilt, the shame, the toxicity, the words of other people, those sort of things, when we change that to hope, faith, God, whatever that is for that particular person, it produces different fruit. So it's an amazing transformation.
That's fantastic. There's also financial coaching involved too, which I think is a great thing. So many people, whether they need to go to the WayMakers Center for other particular reasons, I think all of us could benefit from any kind of financial coaching. Tell us about that.
Financial coaching is just trying to figure out where it all goes. So many of us live paycheck to paycheck or beyond paycheck to paycheck, and it's very hard to wrap your hands around that. You can print off a budget and you can do a budget on paper. How much money do you make and how much do you have going out? But cash flow is the key. Yeah. And being able to make sure that you make more than you spend, and if not, identifying what areas are you overspending in? What are some minor adjustments that you could make in order to be able to positively cash flow? Then we teach them how to prepare a budget each month that shows the ins and outs. I know when they know they're going to get the money coming in and when they know what's coming out and how much they have at the end of every month. I call it their magic number. You got to have a magic number here to start your budget with. As long as you have this much to start and end every month with, you're going to be okay. Well, anything over that can go to savings or can go to pay toward debt. And so it's just basic budgeting is what it is, but so many people, it's not something that's taught a lot anymore. And to be honest with you, I would not know how to do this had it not been for my mother when I was 18 and decided I'm going to move out on my own. And she says, okay, little lady, how much money do you plan to make? Let me tell you about your bills you're going to have. And then she said, do the math. Right. Now, if you have $500 left over at the end of every month, I'm not going to worry about you. Well, that was like 25 years ago or so. So, $500 has changed a lot now, but it still works. It's still a good number. And so the system my mom taught me, it's just basically teaching people how to do that. It is so amazing, the stress. You want to talk about joy, restoring joy. It is so amazing when people have knowledge, because knowledge becomes power. Mm-hmm. And when they feel like that they are controlling their finances rather than their finances controlling them, it changes everything for them. It seems like a lot of the stress rolls off and they can make different, more informed decisions.
It's like liberation.
Yes,
life
it's very liberating.
They're in control of their life now versus working for the man, or whatever they always say, that expression, whoever that man is.
Yes.
In the sky somewhere. You do a lot of different kinds of coaching. Let's talk about some of the other kinds of coaching that WayMakers Centers offers.
We offer relationship coaching a lot. That's another big one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but typically a lot of times it stems from codependence and people not understanding what codependence looks like, the codependent triangle, and how someone can be the persecutor and the rescuer and the victim and those sort of things. But when they understand that and can work through those things, it's a game changer. Communication, opening up that communication between them. So we'll work a lot of times with both sides, and then bring them together once a month. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working, because at the end of the day, coaching is let's just move forward. Right. So there again, if it's something that's like trauma, deep wounds, maybe they've caused one another, or it's just come from before they even knew one another, those sort of things, they may have to go work that out, other places. But sometimes it's just a lack of understanding between one another.
The other thing too is thinking about whether or not these programs are they tailored for the individual? Do you sort of tweak them for the individual, or are they? I know it's not a cookie cutter approach, But I would imagine you customize them for the individual.
Absolutely. We will have whatever they want to work on. When that person shows up, it's whatever they want to work on. That's what we will tackle. But we'll have to pull pieces from other things. So we'll have a program that is a base, like just a basis to be able to guide us through that, just guided questions and those sort of things to get someone to, thinking. And you're the expert on you. Right. So, if I was coaching you, you're the expert on you. You know what works for you. You know what doesn't work for you. It's my job as a coach to help you find that by asking those open-ended questions, those guided things, so that you come to those aha moments, those discoveries, like, that worked for me before. I just forgot about it. I need to work, I need to implement that in my life again, those sort of things. So
that's really cool. Do you accept insurance too? Is insurance part of this? How does that work?
We actually, in January, felt God really laying this on us. And as long as the donations keep rolling in, we hope that this can continue on. But our services are free.
Oh, wow.
Unless they're court ordered.
Yeah.
We do DUI schools, drug and alcohol assessments, those sort of things that we do have to charge for. But our services are free of charge as long as we can. We need donors. We need donors.
So this is all donation based.
Yes. We do have grants that help us with the homeless. We're just basically a pass-through, to be able to help them get us shelter, emergency food, rental assistance, those sort of things. So when we have those grants available, we're able to help that population. In the meantime, though, it has been 100% funded by donations, and we're in a growth place.
You're right.
We're in a growth place.
Yeah,
so as long as the
believe in it.
Donations can keep rolling in, then we can keep making this affordable and free for anybody.
Exactly. That's beautiful. It's important for people to realize too that donations are what keep the programs working. Let's talk about a little bit. How does it start in the beginning for somebody if they pick up the phone or they email, or now the website's updated as well, and we'll mention that soon. It's probably already on the screen for you. How does it begin in the beginning? Is there an assessment? How do the sessions work? How does it all work from the beginning? If somebody's watching right now and they're like, this really sounds like a place for me or a loved one or a friend that I can really benefit from WayMakers Center. What do they do first, and what happens from there?
So they'll reach out with their questions or their concerns, what they're seeking help for. And then based on that, just basically, is it recovery coaching you're seeking? Is it joy restoration? Or if you don't know, that's perfectly okay too.
Sure,
I just know I'm in this space and I don't know how I got here and I don't know why and I don't know what I need, but can we talk about that? They can send in a request by email and give us a phone call. They can reach out on our Facebook page, anything like that. And then one of our coaches will respond to them to kind of figure out what area of service. Then we have just an initial consultation where we just meet and talk about where are you at and what would you like to accomplish. We try to do the most peer-to-peer work that we can. So certifications first, and then also peer-to-peer from experience. And we'll pair them up with the coach that we feel like would best to be able to navigate and guide them through where they're wanting to move forward in life. And once that's made, then they schedule. Sometimes people come once a week. Sometimes they want to meet once a month. However that works best for them. Sometimes it's a matter of timing, for office hours and things like that. But if it's where they, don't mind doing it over the phone or by Zoom consults, things like that, they can do it on their lunch break. They can sit in their car and have this conversation. It's just like being able to have a guide, just a coach, basically, that you can just jump in there on lunch one day and say, hey, this is where I'm at today. Let's go forward. What do we got to do today?
Hey, Angie, it's Brenda checking in.
Yeah.
So how much of it is done over the phone and over, the internet, Zoom, things of that nature, those platforms, and also there at the center? Is the center physically a place where people come? Do they stay at the center? How does that all work? The different ways that the outreach?
Yes. So the center is open from 10 to 4 every day, Monday through Friday. Of course, we're on Central Time. And then we have our 12-step meetings in the evenings, those sort of things. Sometimes we'll schedule other meetings in the evenings as well. Coaching goes on as that coach has time slots for that need. So sometimes coaches have to get paired up based on, what that client has available, time frame, and the coach is also available as well. I would say at this point right now, there's probably about 60% coming in person and about 40% doing over the phone, by Zoom, those sort of things. So, schedules and demands and things like that, hinder that. But sometimes it's, geographical location.
Right.
We coach people all over different states. So whatever's most convenient for them.
And at the center, do they come for the day, or are there some people who are going through programs where they are actually staying at a facility?
We don't house anyone, so they're not
Right.
staying there. That's a long-term goal. When we're talking about growth, that's a long-term goal.
Is to have that.
Yes. But it's a place where people can come and hang out. And while one-on-one coaching is going on with other coaches in other rooms in the center, then we have this big open room. It's just like home. People come in, they help themselves to the snacks, refrigerator, they'll make coffee, they all know where everything's at, they'll turn on the TV, or they'll sit on the porch. A lot of people just like to come and sit on the porch. We always say porch is always open. So people come and they'll hang out with one another and just share. We have people who are in recovery a lot of times, and they've experienced something really rough, and they're like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And they're just like, I need to go to WayMakers. I need to drive there right now. So they'll just show up and I just need to sit here a minute. I need to just, it's a place.
There's something they're getting that calms their nerves and just tampers down the blood pressure, and they breathe from the diaphragm a little bit more.
Yes, and just
That's
to be able to
fantastic.
talk about it, to talk about it before they
Express
react on it.
Before they react. It doesn't seem like we are living in a time where people are on the offense now, or the defense of everything. Everybody's ready to react and speak and say and do without pausing, thinking, and like you say, empathy and emotional intelligence seems to be waning a little bit. And you're in a big mission to bring that back.
One step at a time.
So am I.
Yes, you are.
And sometimes it's like paddling in the other direction, but you got to keep going, right?
Yeah, and if it changes one life, when we
One
did
life.
this, we said if it helps no one but one person,
Right.
we're going to call it a success.
Why do you love doing this work so much? I mean, just the energy that's coming out. I tune into energy. So the energy that's coming out of you is pouring out for the care for what you do. Why do you love it so much? Why does it bring you such great blessing and joy?
I think WayMakers doesn't belong to us. It belongs to God, and it's His center, and we just try to be good stewards of it. Every day, we try to get up and give our best to that. But being able to have a front row seat to watch God change lives, it's like being at a opening movie that you've been waiting your whole life to see, that many people will never witness. Just being able to get to watch God do miracles. God still does miracles, let me tell you. He still does miracles. And being able to watch that happen, it's fuel. It is just such fuel to keep going. But we're just servants. That's all we are. We just show up. We tell people we show up. We unlock the door. God does the heavy lifting. We're just here to help God navigate and do what He told us to do. And as long as we keep doing that, He'll keep showing up.
You mentioned some plans for the future with the housing facility. What are some other things that you see for WayMakers Center in the future?
So the vision for WayMakers is to become a full center where there's an emergency shelter that also has long-term shelter, I say up to a year, for transformational living, where people can come and be able to have that 3 to 6 month period, or I would say 3 to 6 months, 3 to 4 months of being able to get on their feet, to have a roof over their head while they're waiting for their birth certificates and their driver's license and these things to be able to come back to them so they can get that job.
Right.
In the meantime, being able to take advantage of all of the courses that they may need, budgeting, getting prepared. We have such a housing shortage in our area, and because of that, their names will be on a waiting list for 3 to 6 months. In the meantime, they have nowhere to go. And so we are in desperate need of a facility to be able to allow people to stay there and get help and just to be loved on, just to be able to be loved on, to be poured into, so that while they're in that holding period, when they're ready to spread those wings and fly, when their name comes up and they're ready to move, they're set up for success. And in the meantime, we help them find jobs. We'll help them to be able to thrive in areas that they want to do. There's a partner that we have, a network partner, that we'll be able to try to help them with this particular grant money, even starting their own business, if that's something that they wanted to do. So a facility that does that also has maybe, a place that they can attend church on site, right. Those sort of things. And then we still do what we do, coaching, classes, never losing that foundation of that, but just being able to extend services.
That's beautiful. At the end, we'll mention the telephone number as well as the direct email address that you can contact to be in contact with WayMakers Center, with Angie and the team. But you also have freshened the website too, right? Tell us about that.
Yes, we have. So we have a fresh new look on our website. It has all-encompassing details of everything that we do now. And so I encourage everybody to check that out.
What is the website address?
The website is WayMakersOnline.com.
WayMakersOnline.com.
Yes. And so if you're kind of wondering all of the array of services that we provide, feel free to jump on there, check that out. If you see something that sparks your interest, please give us a call, shoot us an email, reach out. That way we can try to see if this is right for you.
That's fantastic. This was really a pleasure, Angie. Again, we did the radio shows, but to have you come to our TV studio and make the trip from Tennessee to the East Coast, I hope you're enjoying your time with us.
Yes, we are. We really are.
And kudos to you on the beautiful, life-changing work that you're doing, truly making an impact in the lives of others in such a profound and long-lasting way that I know brings you continued joy and blessing in your life. And the lives of many, many people who are coming through that center. So it's, like I say, it's God's work you're doing.
It definitely is. He does the work. He's the waymaker.
He's the
waymaker.
It was a pleasure having you come. Thanks for joining us here at Close Up Television once again, and hope to stay in touch and learn more. And congratulations on the center and all the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Our pleasure. To get in touch with Angie Pedigo and the team at WayMakers Center, call the number you see on the screen, 615-670-1785, or send an email to info@waymakersonline.com. You can also send a message through Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. For Close Up Television and Radio, I'm Jim Masters. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.